Okay, today I am going to show you how to create a tool, a web service to help you with word games such as crossword puzzles or Wordle or Scrabble, games like that. Um, so let's begin. It's going to be a simple three-tier architecture. We're actually only going to create the server and a database portion. The client will be you can use a web browser or command line. Um, So let's move on to the code here. Okay, so we're going to be using a Python web server, and we're going to implement FastAPI, which is a way to create APIs in Python. And we're going to, for a backend, we're going to use Microsoft SQL Server. Nothing here is going to be specific to Microsoft SQL Server. You could use Oracle or Postgres or MySQL if you want. It's just SQL Server is what I have here, so that's what I'm using. But you can use anything. Um, so first thing you need is a file, a list of words that you're gonna query against. I'm using a file called Collins Scrabble Words 2019.txt, and I believe there's a newer one out now, 2023. But you don't always want the latest and greatest here because it's not really going to match the dictionary the game uses. So you want a couple years old usually works pretty good. So 2019 so far. Trying it with 2019 list. I think I've only come across maybe two words out of a couple hundred that were a discrepancy. So um, search for this word, Google it, this list, and you'll be able to find. Um, and you can use any list if you want, but the goal is basically to just have a table full of your words, and then you'll potentially be able to insert other metadata into the table, such as I'm adding the length of the word, but you can add something like if this word is obscure or not, or how popular it is, to better skew your rankings of the words you return. So to import the list, every database system has its own way of doing this, but I can show you the MSSql way. You just basically select the import flat file, and there's a wizard which will guide you through the process. Since I already did it, I'm gonna have to rename it here, but the concept is basically you will see a list of the words, partial list from the file. You just click next, 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 and then eventually you click finish, and it'll create a table for you. I'm not going to finish it because I have already done this, so I'm going to cancel. But in the end, you're going to get this list of words. I'll show you what it looks like. Um, so basically, it's just every single word, 280,000 words. And what we're going to do is I'm going to filter this for words that are less than 15 characters, and I'm going to add a length. So I'm going to create a new table, here, create an index on the length, and then I'm going to insert the words into it. And that's it. So this basically just helps us query better. So I can show you the list of words by length. So I'm basically querying the word table where the length is 5, and I'm choosing a substring. So in this case, I'm choosing where the first letter of the word is an A. And this syntax might be a little bit different if you're using MySQL or Oracle or Postgres, but it's the similar concept. You're basically just looking for the first character of the word. So now let's move on to our Python. In Python, so the goal is to create a web service, and we're going to make a GET request to our web service, and we're going to pass a URL, and we're going to with 3 parameters, and we're going to have so games like the way these games work is you have um, a fixed number of letters in the word. So, for example, Wordle will give you 5. A crossword puzzle might give you 8 or 10. And you're basically you type in a word and you get a response, and the response will say you are correct. The letter H is in the first position, or the V does not appear anywhere, or if it's gray, or if it's yellow, that means the word does exist in the puzzle, but it is not in the right spot. So the way we're going to handle that is we're going to create dynamic SQL, a dynamic SQL query of our word list that we just inserted. And we're going to pass in 3 parameters. So the first parameter says, we're going to call it 1. Did this letter appear correctly in this position? And if it did, we're going to pass a letter in that position. And if it did not, we are going to just put a little dash there. The second parameter we're going to pass, or the last parameter we're going to pass, or it could be the second, will be 0. We're going to say 0. These are the letters that are not in the word. They do not appear anywhere in the word, so we're going to pass them as 0. And every other parameter will be a letter, and for that letter we're going to pass an array of possible positions where that word can appear in the word. So as you can see in this case, and if I guessed an R and an E and it came back as yellow, this means I will have to pass the R. I know the R appears in the word, but it does not appear in the second position. I know the E appears in the word and doesn't appear in the last position, so I'm going to pass the R with a 1, 3, 4, and the E with a 1, 2, 3, or 4. And that is the goal of that, is to narrow down my list of words in my response. So let me give you a sample. I've already built the app, but as you can see, it's pretty simple. But I'll show you. I'll step through with you. So in this case, I'm basically passing in a 5-letter word, and I'm saying the first letter will be an S, the third letter will be an E, and a T will be either the second, third, or fourth, or fifth, and the letters X, G, or L, I put G twice, will not appear in a word. So let's step through our app real quick. And you can see that we're passing in the parameters. This is how we pass in parameters from FastAPI. And you can see FastAPI is actually really useful for stuff like this. Because, I mean, we can make this a local service as well, but the reason I chose to make this a service is so I can host it, and I can monetize it potentially, right? So I can create a front end for this and show ads, and people can use it. But you can just as easily make this a command line shell app with almost no work. So let's step through this. You can see this is just simple string parsing. All I'm doing here is converting the way the parameters are passed in my URL into dictionaries and arrays of integers and strings, so I can pass it into SQL easier. And a little bit of validation is done, basically, rather than I'm just taking the first letter of everything. So you can see here's our dictionary. So if a 1 appears, I'm going to say this is so here you can see this one is found at this position. So if a 1 appears, the S or the F, or S or the E, I think. And these are the words that do not appear. It's just a simple list, the X and the G. And this is the dictionary of arrays. So these are the letters from A to Z that can appear in some position in my word. And then I just do my query right here. You can see that all this does is loop through. So I'm selecting the first 1,000 words where the length matches my length that I passed. And here all I'm doing is appending substring character indexes. And this is my final query. You can see here, this is the query I'm going to run. So give me the first 1,000 words where the length is 5 and the first letter is an S, third letter is an E. X is not found. G is not found. And then T is 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. I'm going to run this. You can see our response is that this is an okay HTTP, and here are my words. So you can see 49 words in our dictionary match that criteria, where the first letter is an S, third letter is an E, and this would make our next guess a lot easier, because instead of looking through 270,000 words, or it's probably about 3,500 words, 20,500 words, I will get only 50. So yeah, you can keep iterating on this process until you have 1 or 2 words left. And in the next video, I'll show you how to actually run this. And that's all. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Otherwise, don't. I won't make any more videos like this. Thanks.